My 2025 TBR list. I could not be more excited to share this with you because I think I have a beautiful year of reading ahead. So grab a tea, get cozy, play this in the background while you fold some laundry, and let's talk all things books. As always, please let me know your thoughts on any of these books mentioned. I'm so curious to what you thought of them. Let's start off with the books I got for Christmas. I got absolutely spoiled and blessed. It was amazing. I got Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I have been so excited to read this one, and this is going to be my February read. It's about this girl kind of haunted by this rich widow's wife when she goes to live with him. No longer human. I have seen this book everywhere. I've heard it's quite existential, so I probably won't read this unless I really feel like I'm in the mindset for it, but I'm in a kind of pensive, reflective mood lately. He narrates a seemingly normal life even while he feels himself incapable of understanding human beings. Without sentimentality, he records the casual cruelties of life and its fleeting moments of human connection and tenderness. I'm so excited about this book, and it's one of the most beautiful books I've ever gotten. Look at those gold pages. And this is the greatest works of Edgar Allan Poe, my fellow Capricorn. I love him so much. I love his writing. I don't feel like I've read enough of him though. I just love what I have read, and I know that he is more of a gothic horror writer, which is my favorite. This is exciting. I debated bringing this one to the UK with me, but we'll have to see. So yes, here is the stunning copy, and look at these pages, the font of the chapter pages. My brother got me this book, Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I have seen this on a lot of people's lists and heard it's very impactful, although a smaller book. This one is coming to the UK with me. Let me show you what's coming to the UK with me for sure. The next one coming to the UK with me is Madonna in a Fur Coat. I'm not sure how to pronounce that author's name. There it is. Again, I've heard amazing things about this one. The magical novel about a Turkish man who falls in love with an artist in 1920s Berlin recreates a vanished era and dramatizes a doomed relationship with verve, depth, and poignancy. The result is a miniature masterpiece. I'll probably read this one first because I'm just really stoked about it. The next two books coming to the UK with me, we have James Joyce, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. My mom came up to me in the bookstore the other day with a gorgeous copy of this. It was one of those gold page editions with the hardcover, but I was like $30 versus I think this one was like $12 or something. Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man portrays Stephen Dadelou's Dublin childhood and youth, and doing so provides an oblique self-portrait of the young James Joyce, and the relationship of an artist to his family, culture, and race. Exuberantly inventive in style, the novel subtly and beautifully orchestrates the patterns of quotation and repetition, instrumental in its hero's quest to create his own character, his own language, life, and art. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I have seen this everywhere on everyone's list. Here Steinbeck created some of his most memorable characters and explored his most enduring themes: the mystery of identity, the inexplicability of love, and the murderous consequences of love's absence. Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. Another one I'm very excited for. It's going to be a thick project sort of book, but where is it? 100 books. Scratch off bucket list, and this book is on there. I haven't read any Leo Tolstoy yet, so this is going to be great. Anna Karenina seems to have everything: beauty, wealth, popularity, and an adored son, but she feels that her life is empty until the moment she encounters the impetuous officer Count Vronsky. Their subsequent affair scandalizes society and family alike and soon brings jealousy and bitterness in its wake. Contrasting with this tale of love and self-destruction is the vividly observed story of Levin, a man striving to find contentment and meaning to his life, and also a portrait of Tolstoy himself. The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa, just translated from Portuguese. I created various personalities within myself. I create them constantly. Every dream, as soon as it is dreamed, is immediately embodied by another person who dreams it instead of me. In order to create, I destroyed myself. I have externalized so much of my inner life that even inside, I now only exist externally. To act is to exile oneself. I think I bought this book especially when I was feeling kind of lost in my creativity and feeling a little bit, I don't even know the word. I was a little bit lost and confused in my creative journey, so I have read about 30 pages of this one, but I'm really loving it. It's something I'm absorbing slowly just because I find it's that type of read, but this is definitely going to be finished very soon. Notes from Underground and The Double. I read Crime and Punishment just right back in November, and I really liked it. I do think his writing is long and he's wordy, that's for sure, but I really enjoy the themes that Dostoevsky brings forward, especially when it comes to morality. A lot of people know that's the whole premise of Crime and Punishment, so I'm excited to read more by him. Staying in the theme of Dostoevsky, we have White Nights, and this one also has The Meek One and A Nasty Business in here. So it has a couple of short stories, and I've heard amazing things about White Nights, one of those books that just really sticks with you and is a maybe more accessible text of Dostoevsky. So I found this in the UK because I didn't find that we had good copies of White Nights. Like, I bought this copy on Amazon, and the text is so small. And I saw that in the reviews, but I thought, okay, I have pretty good eyesight, it should be fine, but I'm donating this copy. Your Eyes Were Watching God. This is, I think, one of my mom's best friend's favorite books. Your Eyes Were Watching God is an enduring Southern love story sparkling with wit, beauty, and heartfelt wisdom, told in the captivating voice of a woman who refuses to believe in sorrow, bitterness, fear, or foolish romantic dreams. It is the story of fair-skinned, fiercely independent Janie Crawford and her evolving selfhood through 3 marriages and a life marked by poverty, trials, and purpose. Perhaps the most widely read and highly regarded novel in the entire canon of African American literature. On every dark academia lover's list is Babel. 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lavelle. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation known as Babel. Babel is the world center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. So, this just sounds amazing. Catcher in the Rye. I find this one very controversial with opinion. It's quite short, and I think, you know how there's books that you feel you've read at the perfect time in your life? I think if I had read this as a teenager, I would have enjoyed it more, because I think the main character is quite angsty, and I think that's how I felt. So either this will help me kind of connect to that younger self that's still in me somewhere, or maybe I'm just a little too old to relate to this book as much. You never know. I'll let you know what I think when I do my reading wrap-ups, but let me know what you think about this one if you've read it. Wuthering Heights. This is also on a lot of people's lists. I made it 30 pages in. The weird thing about Wuthering Heights is each time I go to read it, I get distracted and I read something else. I don't know what it is about this book that I cannot seem to finish it, and I think people love it or hate it. I've heard people feel like you're always waiting for the plot to get started the whole time, and I've also heard people say that it's an incredible, haunting love story. So I don't know. We'll see what I think. I'm very much into Victorian Gothic literature and just Gothic literature in general, so I believe I will like this one, but it's just hard for me to stick with it sometimes. I'm going to make the ambitious quest of reading Inferno. I do think this one will be a little more challenging for me, but I do believe that with reading more classics, I'm working my way up to Inferno. This is another one I see kind of in the dark academia sphere, but I don't know, again, I hear mixed reviews about this one, so because I haven't read this author yet, I have no idea what to expect. I think it's a little bit gory and gruesome, but I read The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, and I feel like that book traumatized me so badly that I don't know if another book could traumatize me. Another one I would love to put on my TBR actually is The Exorcist, because I saw someone say that the actual storyline of it is beautiful, even if, you know, it's kind of considered more of a horror novel, and I also always see people talking about The Haunting of Hill House. I have 2 books by the same author here, The Doors of Perception, and I also have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I think it's, again, I'm gonna butcher pronouncing these names, but this one, for The Doors of Perception, among the most profound explorations of the effects of mind-expanding drugs ever written, here are 2 complete classic books, The Doors of Perception and Heaven and Hell, in which Aldous Huxley, author of the best-selling Brave New World, reveals the mind's remote frontiers and the unmapped areas of human consciousness. This new edition also features an additional essay, Drugs That Shape Men's Mind, which is now included for the first time. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the band The Doors named themselves The Doors after this book. Brave New World, of course, this is just a classic, and I loved 1984, so I'm curious to see what I think about this one. Far in the future, the world controllers have created the ideal society through clever use of genetic engineering, brainwashing, and recreational sex and drugs. All its members are happy consumers. Bernard Marx seems alone in feeling discontent, harboring an unnatural desire for solitude and a perverse distaste for the pleasures of compulsory promiscuity. Bernard has an ill-defined longing to break free. Huxley's ingenious fantasy of the future sheds a blazing light on the present and is considered to be his most enduring masterpiece. Do a dance contract which includes singers and dancers and acrobats. I'm a dancer on the contract, but I work with acrobats who are just awesome. And we do a whole Secret Santa gift exchange where we usually do like little presents throughout the contract, and then right on the last day we do like a big gift exchange. So one of the books I got from my Secret Santa was Phantom of the Opera, and I've wanted to read this one for a long time. Stunning copy of Pride and Prejudice. Look at that, the way it shimmers. I have not read any Jane Austen yet. I know that's surprising because I read a lot of classics, but I haven't gotten into this one, and I'm just like, I don't know, I picture me reading this one at the cottage for some reason. I just think it's such a beautiful edition, and I think this is probably one of my favorite like versions of a book that I own. It is also on this 100 books bucket list that I could scratch off. We're getting near the end here. I might get the audiobook of this one, Entangled Life. I do find with nonfiction, I absorb it a little bit better sometimes when I listen to it. Really gorgeous photos in here, but if you know me at all, you know I am obsessed with mushrooms. My room has mushrooms everywhere. Even for Christmas, my brother got me mushroom like luggage tags. Just anything mushroom related, I love it. And I didn't even know this existed, but Oscar Wilde, The Major Works. And Oscar Wilde is my favorite author, I'm pretty sure, if I had to pick one. So this is just, he wrote my favorite book, which is technically a letter of all time, called De Profundis, and I will be rereading that book forever. Letter forever. I was in the middle of reading this one essay, The Critic as Artist, so it just talks about like where criticism exists in the art world. This is a very thick one. It's going to take me a while, but a lot of them in here are plays. And grilling when I saw this at Waterstones. And if you live in the UK, or at least in England, I am so jealous that you have Waterstones, because we have Indigo/chapters here in Canada, and it's great in a lot of ways for sure. When I went to Waterstones, I was like, this whole section was classics, like an entire wall of classics, and then they had a whole table just for dark academia, and I was like, this is the best bookstore I've ever been in before. And it was 4 levels high or 3 levels high. I cannot wait to go back to Waterstones. I'm dreaming about it. My mom gave me this one, The Memory Keeper's Daughter. The stunning novel begins on a winter night in 1964 when a blizzard forces Dr. David Henry to deliver his own twins. His son, born first, is perfectly healthy, but the doctor immediately recognizes that his daughter has Down syndrome. For motives he tells himself are good, he makes a split-second decision that will haunt all their lives forever. He asks his nurse, Caroline, to take the baby away to an institution. Instead, she disappears into another city to raise the child as her own. Compulsively readable and deeply moving, The Memory Keeper's Daughter is a brilliantly crafted story of parallel lives, familial secrets, and the redemptive power of love. Gosh, this is definitely, I think, going to be one of those books that sticks with you. This one, I want to finish Letters to Milena. I also have put his diaries on my list of books I want to read, but this is about his love affair with his Czech translator. And I just adore Kafka's writing. He is incredible. I also really want to read The Trial eventually. 150 pages into this one, and this is on a lot of people's lists. The Count of Monte Cristo. Again, another one on the 100 book bucket list that I have here. This book's incredible, and I've heard that even though it's thick, it just is amazing. It's one of those books that I don't know why I abandon it, and that's my goal of 2025, is to stop abandoning books halfway through. I've been really bad for that. And I feel like all I do is read, but then when I went to see how many books I read, I felt like there wasn't a lot to show for it, because I DNF a lot of books for no reason. I don't know. It's not even like I wasn't enjoying this. It just felt like such a project. But I think sometimes you can have like a project book on the go and then read something that's a little more digestible. Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. George Orwell has way more books. Why is this so bright? Sorry, this is so bright right now. George Orwell has way more books than I actually thought he did, and I realized it when I was in Edinburgh with Swissman. We went to a bookstore, and there was a whole shelf of George Orwell, and I think we've all been kind of told about Animal Farm in 1984, but there's actually a ton of books by him out there, and I just really respect him as a writer. I think he opens up our eyes a lot to society and the way things are run, and just kind of makes you question everything. I would love to reread the book On the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are by Alan Watts. I think whenever I feel faced with anxieties about life and I get all in my head about you know, afterlife and I start thinking about life and death and things really deeply, Alan Watts always makes me feel calm again. Of course, he is the translator of Eastern religions and concepts into Western terminology, so it's easier for us to understand. So he's not the creator of these ideas, but he did kind of help to bring these ideas over to here, which I really appreciate. And I have quite a few books of Alan Watts that I finished and some that I still need to read. I just really respect him. I think once I started reading Alan Watts, it shifted my entire perspective of the world, and I've never gone back since. Last on the list, which will definitely be a fall read, is Dracula. Have not read Dracula yet. I know that's surprising. I have read Carmilla, I've read Frankenstein, and just I've been in that world. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is the book that got me into classics, although I hear a lot of people say they didn't enjoy that one. For me, I think because it was my intro into classics, I really enjoyed it, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it, because classics changed the course of my life, which I've always said I'll tell the story. Alright, that is my huge 2025 TBR, and please let me know down below what you've read from this list and what you enjoyed, what I should bump up to my first few that I should read, and also let me know what you're reading this year, because as if I could use any more books, I feel like you can always use more, you know? Thank you so much for being here and sitting through this with me. Again, chat with me about books down below. I would love to, and I will answer your comments. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!